Hello once again, race fans. Welcome back to another episode of the NASCAR Show. Here on The Grueling Truth, where legends speak. I'm Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley, and we got Michael Klein in here with us this week to discuss many fun topics, including this past weekend's race at the Charlotte Roval, the second running of the Cup Series, running at the Roval. Chase Elliott getting his third win of the season. He advances into the round of 12. After having what you would say, having your controller disconnect on your Xbox, running into the wall early in the race, coming back, making up all those spots, and with the big win, a Hendrick 1-2 as Alex Bowman, we'll get to him in a second. Bowman was second. Then you got a pair of Stewart-Haas cars, Harvick and Boyer finishing third and fourth, Brett Keselowski fifth, William Byron sixth. A pretty good run for Hendrick Motorsports in this race. Martin Truex Jr. seventh. Last year's winner, Ryan Blaney, 8th. And even Jimmy Johnson with a good run, running in 9th. Kind of ran up there most of the race. Joey Logano, 10th. Other notable finishes, Matt Benedetto, 11th. Michael McDowell, 12th. Paul Menard was 16th. And also, this was an elimination race. Those who were eliminated, if I'm correct, Eric Jones is eliminated. Kurt Busch has been eliminated. Brian Newman has been eliminated. And that fourth driver is currently eluding me at the moment. It was Newman, Jones, Kurt Busch, and
Almirola.
Amarola? Okay. I was wondering. Yeah, I think, Boyer advanced. Amarola's out. Okay. My mind drew a blank there. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It happens.
All right. So, thoughts on the race?
I mean, I found it exciting.
Yeah, Michael, I thought it was a great race. I mean, because it's a treacherous track. I mean, these guys don't know how to drive this track yet because it's only been there for 2 years. So they don't – you're watching Chase Elliott with 45 laps to go leading the race. He drives his car right into the wall. Unfortunately, there were tires there that didn't do – it may have helped the Zero for all we know. What they do at that point in time. But he comes back and he has to pass the entire field to come back into this race and win this race. And he was already pretty much in the next round, so the win is not that significant for him as it would have been for one of the four drivers who got disqualified or out of the chase. But, I mean – I love to see the things when these guys they don't know how to handle or they don't have a grip on the notes that they have from years gone by on these tracks. And the Roval is proving and I think we need to see, Indy has a Roval. I mean, Indy has a Roval too. And you could come into Indy and run the Roval on one day and the Brickyard on the next day and do a doubleheader. And I think Pocono has the same thing. Don't they have a Roval kind of set up? They've been kind of
they actually talked about running that, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, is this the future, Michael, is this the future of NASCAR?
Well, if we're talking about Roval's just completely taking over schedule, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's going to happen. And like some of my friends said, I don't think it should happen. There are a few tracks I think could use it, one of which being Indy, just because, let's face it, the racing there is lackluster now on the oval.
It's boring as hell, yeah. The track is not set up for NASCAR. I mean, it's a 9-degree banking. It's a flat track. I mean, you got to have ground effects. You got to have downforce. And, you don't want 4,000-pound cars running on that track. And it's a boring race for the most part. So go ahead.
Yes, and think of it this way, too. Indy's Roval is ready to go. I mean, they got IndyCar on there. It's not like Charlotte where they had to make several alterations to it. It's ready to go whenever they want to use it. So they don't have to invest anything into it. They want to run the Roval, they can just do it.
Yeah.
Now, Pocono, you would probably have to upgrade the Roval, but like I said, with Indy, that would probably be the best bet right now going forward, I would think, because it solves the issue of the lackluster racing. There's going to be no additional financial strain. If anything, it's going to improve because you're going to get more people in the stands.
Yeah, I agree. So, Alex, is the doubleheader, is that going to become more of a genre we're going to look for in NASCAR now, where they're going to say, we're going to run, we like this Roval setup? Because this was an entertaining race. And, of course, I'm thrilled to death that the 9-car won. I mean, he's my boy. No doubt about that. But there were a lot of leaders in this race and a lot of cars that ran well and had the opportunity to win. But there were a lot of wrecks going on, too, because these drivers don't know how to control their cars and navigate these. They don't know how to turn right. That's the problem. Is that the problem?
Yeah. No, I mean, again, it's a track where, it's still mysterious. Plus, they even made a few changes to it from last year's race. And I think that's what really has thrown people off. I think it throws in a really good challenge, especially if it's in the playoffs, to all the top stars of NASCAR. In terms of the Rovals and the doubleheaders, 2021 is going to be a brand new era in NASCAR. There's a lot of change coming, but I wouldn't overdo the idea of Rovals and doubleheaders because you don't want to oversaturate it. You don't want to make it because I think the Charlotte Roval, it's unique. It's different. It's that one race out of the year that's just unique, You don't want to be let's put 5 more Rovals on the schedule. It's just I agree. NASCAR needs a couple of those kind of silly races like the Roval. And the other thing is, and I think I can vouch for why guys like David Reagan and Paul Menard are retiring, because they pointed out that they don't want to race 38 weeks out of the year. Unfortunately, schedule is pretty long. February to November, and then once season ends for crews, the 2020 starts right after Homestead or next year Phoenix.
Let me ask you a question, Alex. How many weeks a year do you work?
I work every week.
There you go. They work 38 and make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but also just to point this out,
I'm not feeling bad
Alex
about them right now. Come on.
Oh yeah, but
they're doing
just to throw
everything
this out
we'd all
there,
love to do.
I'd need to throw this out there though. Alex's job, he gets to stay home every week. NASCAR drivers, they're traveling every week.
Yeah.
So yep.
Even though my job is third shift warehouse job right now, but
And I watched the show on I think it's HGTV about extreme coaches. Where these guys sleep at the track is nicer than their homes or most hotels. They're not hurting for the world, so 38 weeks doesn't bother me. For the money that all these guys are pulling in, $10 to $40 million, depending on what your trailer concessions are and things like that, and where you are in the stature of things and what team you're aligned with. But they're all making decent money. So it's not that big of a deal for them to say, I got to work 38 weeks, I got to be gone. So I don't know that I buy that story about, if I could get that gig, if I could make that kind of money, working 38 weeks a year, I'd be all over it for as long as I could possibly do it. And, Michael, I would think you would too.
Absolutely. And I'm just throwing this out there. If you think the NASCAR schedule is tough, look at the World of Outlaws.
Oh, yeah. Those guys
that's a whole different category. I mean, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they've got a way tougher schedule than NASCAR drivers do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And your point is?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, because, you brought up Alex's job and everyone else working 2 hours a week, so.
Yeah. But most of those guys do it as a part-time job. I mean, they go race after they do their day job every day, and they take their cars and they haul them on a trailer to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to the Chili Bowl, wherever that's run at.
Well, not if you're running the full schedule. If you're on the full schedule, you got no time for a part-time job. I mean, if you're running the full World of Outlaw schedule, that is your job.
You know that better than me. Yeah, you know that better than me. But they're still getting paid to do what they love to do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if somebody told me that I could go sit in a NASCAR right now and run the race for 38 weeks, and that's all I had to do for the rest of my life, Jesus, I'd be there every day. I would. I mean, to interact with the drivers and the teams and the sponsors and everything. I mean, I'd be there. I mean, I spent 5 years. We had the Viagra car with Mark Martin, the 6 car, for 5 years, and I spent 5 years being a part of the team of Pfizer that did that. And it was. I mean, I had hot passes to the Brickyard 400. Any race I wanted to go to, I had hot passes to. Which means we sat in the pits and watched the race, which is the dumbest place ever to watch a race. Trust me. You don't want to sit there when they pull 4 tires off a car and stack them on the backside of the pit wall. Because I put my arm up on there one time and burnt the hell out of my arm. So anyway, the Roval. Is that a fun race, Alex, for everybody?
I think it is. I think it's a extremely fun race. I mean, the incredible finish we had last year and the craziness we had this year as well, and especially how tempers kind of got involved here. Last year was Truex and Johnson. I said we're going to get to Bowman here in a minute. He finished second.
Yeah, we'll get to Bowman and Bubba. Yeah, we'll get to that story in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, yeah, I think the Roval is a great race. I think it's good for the sport. As I said earlier, it's different. It's a one-of-a-kind race. It's a one-of-a-kind kind of race that they run.
So, Michael, what do you make of Hendrick? I mean, they're not qualifying well. Are they going into race trim and just setting up for the races? Because, I mean, they all 3 of their cars cleared through and did well. They all finished in the top 10, I believe, if I'm not correct. And I'm not looking at the stats right now, so I'm some roll results. But I think all 3 of the cars did well. Well, obviously, Elliott won. Bowman finished second. And, I mean, even Jimmy Johnson finished 9th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it smarter right now to be working on qualifying trim or race trim? And that's kind of the question I want to ask you as a driver. Would you rather have your car in race trim, working on it in race trim, or in qualifying trim?
Just before I get into that, did you say that they hadn't qualified well or they had?
Well, I mean, let me go back.
I remember they qualified really well. Byron on pole.
Elliott starts
Bowman
19th.
was second.
Bowman starts second.
Byron he didn't start second. He qualified second, but remember, he had to go to the back. But then he got
pushed back. He had to go back, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they all made it to the final rounds.
All right, but as a driver, do you want your car in race trim or qualifying trim?
For me, I would honestly, so I would rather have the car in race trim for qualifying, I think, mainly because most races that I do, it's impound after qualifying, which means, you can't do anything to the car between qualifying and the race. And so if I had that choice, I would definitely want to go into the race with the race trim on, knowing I'm not going to get to change anything. And that's what I feel like most other drivers would be going with too. So it wouldn't make us any different from the other drivers. So I think that's just kind of becoming a thing now that impound races are starting to become more prevalent. Like pretty much every ARCA race you go to, it's impound. And you're starting to see that more in the Cup Series, I think. So I would personally rather just go with the race trim for qualifying. Not only for that, just because I also would like to know how the car is going to handle in the race. And, you know, when you have it in qualifying trim, you're not going to know that.
Well, okay, let me ask you this question. As a driver, which you are, clean air. Is that really an indicator of what your car is going to do, or do you need to get behind somebody and see how your car is going to handle in turbulence and take the pounding of the aerodynamics you're going to get from the car in front of you? What's more important to you as a driver? What do you want to know as a driver?
Well, as a driver, I'd honestly like to know how it would handle in either condition. So, you know, qualifying, yeah, you're just going out there, you're setting your time, so that could be a good time to figure out how the car is going to handle in clean air. And you also got practice sessions where you're out on track with other drivers, so you could use that to sort of understand how it's going to act while you're in the wake of another driver. I mean, that's really the best way I could put it.
Okay. Alex, any comments?
I mean, talking about the qualifying, something I've noticed, Hendrick has been extremely good at qualifying, especially Byron. You know, it just seems like every other week Byron has won a pole or is on the front row. I think we see some really good signs out of him. And if I want to add on anything else, I think Byron's win's going to come very soon. The way he's been racing, his speed, I just think, especially he's got Chad Knaus, you know, helping him out. I think Byron's on the verge of winning races here pretty shortly.
No, it's going to be coming real soon.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree. I don't think he has. I don't think he has the fortitude to drive hard enough to win and drive into the corners hard enough and move the car forward enough and bump and grind with everybody he needs to bump and grind with. I think he's a rookie clean racer, young clean racer that does a great job, but I don't think he's like Harvick. And I don't even know that Elliott's even there yet. I mean, Elliott still drives very clean. I mean, he stays out of everybody's hair, you know. But he's got good equipment. I mean, he's got probably the best Hendrick equipment there is. I'm guessing to put all their money into the 9 car, even more so than the 48 car right now. So I don't know that Byron has that mentality yet that he's going to have to knock somebody off their ass and get them out of their way and move forward and establish his presence. And I haven't seen him do that yet. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, Byron isn't like, you know, Harvick or Boyer or Kyle Busch, those guys who are more aggressive. I think you're right there where Byron's not as aggressive, but I feel like I could say it with a lot of these younger drivers is that they aren't, you know, the kind of tough, aggressive kind of drivers. And it's not a knock on them at all. It's just something that I've noticed. But, you know, time will tell with Byron at this rate. So we'll see. You know, he's shown a lot of improvement, made the playoffs this year, and he's into the second round. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think that's based probably more on Hendrick equipment than it is on his ability as a driver today. I think he has potential, no doubt. But I think right now he's got some of the best equipment out there, is how I feel about that process with the 88 and the 24 car. I think the 9 car is a contender. I mean, I think right now you got to look at Chase Elliott as a contender. They can get to the Final Four, and if you get to the Final Four, you get to Homestead, it's crapshoot. You know, whoever does well, does well.
Yeah, and Chase Elliott has come really close to making it to the championship four in the past 2 seasons. So this could be a year where he can finally get over that last hurdle and get himself into the championship four and run for that championship. I think that'll be huge. But it comes down to if Chase can continue that momentum and, of course, get into Phoenix and not have anything happen to him, have a good run, potentially win. That can advance him to Homestead.
I would have rather he won next week's race rather than this week's race, because this he was already in this week, so that made no difference to him that he won. I'd rather he'd won next week's and just advance to the final 8 and go forward. Yeah, but he didn't do that.
Just throwing this out there, I think he's won at each track that's in this round, so.
Yeah, he's won at Talladega. He's won. Did he win at Dover?
Yeah, he won Dover and Kansas last year.
Yeah,
and in Kansas. So he's won all 3 of these tracks. So he's in a good position.
Dover's always been one of his stronger places too. So.
Yeah, but we all know Talladega is a crapshoot. I mean, it's just when you get caught in the big one. And it's going to happen. You know, we don't know to who and to how many, but it's going to happen. So, any other thoughts on the race this weekend before we move on? I want to get to silly season and what's going on there. Any other thoughts on this race? I think the Roval was a great idea, and I think they should expand it to all 2.5-mile tracks and do a doubleheader for the weekend. That's my thought. Anybody agree or disagree with that? I mean, I look at Indianapolis. I look at Pocono. I look at Auto Club out in California. I see opportunities to do these Roval-type races and set up tracks. Is this a good thing? I enjoyed this race. I mean, it was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was a fun race. I mean, honestly, it's going to end up being one of those races that a lot of people will look forward to for years to come. It's something like the Roval. Do we want to go ahead and talk about the incident between Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace?
Yeah, we'll get there. Michael, I got a question for you. How hard is it for you to turn right?
How hard is it for me to turn right? Well, I got the wheel turning right.
Unintentionally turn right. So, I mean, when you're turning right unintentionally, that's one thing. Like, oh, holy crap, I'm going into the wall. Okay, but I mean, does it screw up the driver? And you're a driver. Does it screw you up to turn right?
For me, it honestly doesn't. You know, I've always. See, the thing is, I think people who grow up on dirt also tend to excel on the road courses. I don't know why. It's just something I've noticed. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of road racing on iRacing, and I've done some road course karts, and I've had some pretty good success there. So it's not bad for me. Maybe for some of these guys who grew up running, you know, late models at Hickory, yeah, maybe it's a little bit harder for them. But me, it just kind of depends on the driver, because each driver is different.
Okay. How hard is it on the equipment to have to turn right and left and shift as much as these guys do on like a roll course or road course? I mean, does that put a lot of extra strain on the equipment? These guys build these cars just go at full RPM, at full throttle, turn left all day long. They build their cambers that way. They stagger their tires that way. They do everything they need to do to get the car just go left. Now you've got to shift, and I've seen multiple times when drivers basically just break the shifter in the car because they're shifting so hard.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is that on you as a driver to do that?
Well, certainly I would assume on the transmission it would create more strain. Like I said, I wouldn't know just because I've never really been in that real environment. So that's something you would probably want to ask someone who's done NASCAR. But, yeah, when it comes to handling and everything like that, I would honestly assume it probably wouldn't put too much strain on it just because you're setting that car up to do that. So, obviously, I think that's going to create – hold on, my mind's went blank.
I feel you, dude.
Yeah, so, obviously what I don't think that would put too much stress on the equipment if you're setting it up to do that. Transmission, yeah, maybe just because you're using it more. But if they know what they're doing and they do it right, I assume it probably wouldn't be too bad on it.
Okay. Yeah, I personally think, I've driven enough go-karts and done enough go-kart racing in my life to know that, it wears you out. And go-karts have one speed. You just hit the accelerator and you go. But I also know the strain it puts on your arms, and you got to control the shifter. You got to go from first to fourth and do everything, and you've got to reset the cambers and things like that. So I think it's great. I think it's great for the sport. All right, Alex, talk about Bowman and
Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
All right. So
go ahead.
This had a lot of people talking after the race. There was quite a few throughout the whole race between Alex Bowman and Darrell Wallace Jr. At one point, Bubba Wallace had apparently been flipping off Bowman for 3 laps straight. Bowman eventually straight up dumped him. But then the biggest thing was after the race, Alex Bowman fell a little ill. He was being tended to by medical staff.
A medical team.
Yeah, medical team. He was sitting by his car. Seemed to be just being checked up on, nothing too serious. Bubba Wallace, expressing his displeasure, walked up to him, offering some words, confronting him, and then throwing his drink, which I believe was Powerade or water, into Bowman's face. After that, Steve O'Donnell did say that he will be having a talk with Bubba Wallace. He said on Sirius XM NASCAR radio, quote, "I think that was really not classy whatsoever. I understand that drivers have issues with each other during a race. We totally get that. When the driver is on the ground being attended by medical personnel, you need to be smarter than that. We'll have that conversation with Bubba and see how that goes, obviously prior to Dover." So, this had a lot of people talking, a lot of mixed reactions on social media. I definitely believe this was one of those wrong place, wrong time moments that for Bubba on Bubba's end. It was just the wrong place, the wrong time, especially throwing the drink in his face when he's seeking medical attention. I do think that it was just simply wrong place, wrong time. I understand. We get heated, and we're in that moment. We're just so heated. We're so emotional. It happens in every sport, not just racing. It happens in football.
I throw water in somebody's face. They piss me off.
Yeah, certainly. And people, and it's funny, too, because people are like, these younger drivers don't have character, and then stuff like this happens. Oh, man, I can't believe Bubba did that. What do you want? Okay, sure. Yeah, Bubba had every right to be pissed. Yeah, maybe it was a little excessive, but still, man, he was mad, and I'm pretty sure that eventually Bubba and Bowman are going to meet up each other again at Dover. They're going to shake hands, and we're going to be fine. What do you guys think of it?
I agree with you.
Yeah,
they'll talk it out. They'll be over it.
It'll blow over, just like every other incident. Just like Newman and Boyer back at the All-Star race. Both of them had an autograph session at a Bass Pro Shops, I think the next week or something like that. And Newman pulled a chair for him and Boyer sat down right next to him. It was pretty funny, stuff like that. So, I mean, hey, yeah, we get a little emotional, sure. I think people got upset because of Bowman's condition, which I get. But, again, we get emotional. So.
Yeah, I mean, first thing going through your mind is not going to be, oh, God, this guy's sick. Certainly I think Bubba could have been a little more considerate. I also can't really get behind what Bowman did in dumping him, but, that's what he did. He dumped him. So, they'll both get over it. They'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm watching the incident right now. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in the past we've seen so many of these kind of incidents. 2010, Texas, Jeff Burton broke out on a fight on the track. I know Brad Keselowski had a run-in with Matt Kenseth in 2013 or 14, Jeff Gordon and Keselowski in 2014, Tony Stewart, Joey Logano in 2013. Just some kind of examples in the past where, these drivers, and that's the thing with racing. They're going to get mad, Just listen to, they always do the radioactive thing every week, and they're fun to listen to just to hear how mad these drivers can get. Especially like I would always hear Dale cheer. I'm like, man, he's never mad except when he's in the car. It feels like that's just like a prime example. Bubba is a very popular guy too. He's very loved among the fans. So that makes you a little worried that people may turn on him. But again, Bubba's not, as Michael put it, Bubba is not thinking Bowman's not feeling too well. He's more like, hey, listen here, dude. And that's pretty much what happened. Bubba Wallace, as he left the track, made some comments to NASCAR.com. Quote, he don't like to race. He just runs over everybody. He gets to lap one, and he runs over me and the three Austin Dillon into the back chicane. We're back there in the trunk, man. Just take it easy for a lap. He had a fast car, and he just ran over us. Shoot us through the chicane, and then we get a penalty for it. Every time he gets to me, he just runs over me. He also did say smooth move of playing the sick card so I couldn't bust him in his mouth. Bowman releasing the infield care center. He tried to explain their back and forth. Bowman said, quote, I don't know if he was mad about the first lap or what, but obviously that was just a mistake. Then I got flipped off over every single straightaway for 3 laps. I got flipped off by him for 3 or 4 laps at Richmond, so I was just over it. I got to stand up for myself at some point, right? Probably wouldn't have gotten wrecked if he had his finger back in the car. Bowman also responded to Wallace's post-race splash. Quote, I probably shouldn't repeat what he said to me, but nothing classy by any means. I mean, I get it. I'd be mad too, but he put himself in that spot. That was quotes from NASCAR.com, also posted on JC.com as well.
I love Bubba Wallace. He's a driver who is in inferior equipment based on his driving skills, I believe, for what little I know about the sport. And Michael, I would defer to you on that. But I don't think that's the way to handle that kind of situation when a guy is sitting there getting medical attention. But, I mean, you're right. It's a hot-headed the sad part is there's so much media coverage on this stuff right now that, in the old days, that stuff wouldn't even be covered. And it would never have come up. So I think Bubba probably regrets what he did to some degree. I think he feels strongly about what he did, but I think he probably says it wasn't the time and the place to do it. And that's what you have haulers for. You go out, all the haulers are parked next to each other. All the buses are parked next to each other. And you go hash it out with those guys there. But don't do it on pit road when a guy's sitting there getting treated for medical attention. And you got a guy who's racing. Bubba's racing for his seat. I guess I would say he's racing for a seat. And you got, Bowman racing for the chance to win a NASCAR championship.
Right.
So, yeah, you've got two different environments in there, and it's like it's not I didn't think it was a pretty picture for NASCAR. Is what I think.
Yeah. I mean, oh, God, I was going to say something. My mind drew a blank. But, yeah, both these guys are running for two different things. Of course, this is the second straight week that Bowman has had a run-in with someone. Obviously, we remember at Richmond, he had the run-in with Austin Dillon, talking about how he wanted to shove, quote, that silver spoon up his you-know-what. But, a lot of people feel that way with Austin Dillon. Again, he's trying to race for momentum for 2020 in that case. Obviously, people say he's a silver spoon because he's Richard Childress's grandson. As for Bubba, I know he's kind of opened up about his depression. I don't know if maybe how he felt, if that played a factor at all. I'm not an expert at, mental health and psychology and stuff like that. But that's a thought I did have as well the past couple days. Like, what if that was a possibility maybe? You don't know. I'm not Bubba Wallace. Pretty much Bubba Wallace can only talk about that. And again, Steve O'Donnell's going to have a little talk with him, which probably just saying like, hey, wrong place, wrong, as I said earlier, wrong place, wrong time. I think that's the whole thing here. That's why people are upset, is because of the situation. If Bowman was fine, out of his car, he's upstanding, I think it would just be like, whoa, did you see that thing between Bowman and Bubba? That was insane. So I think the context of the situation is what made people feel that way about what Bubba did. So I can understand.
All right. Well, so let me ask you guys a hypothetical, and I know the answer to this already, so I'm going to ask a hypothetical question, Michael, and Alex.
All right.
I mean, do we get to a point that we just say, if you don't make the playoffs, you don't drive the rest of the season, and we only put the cars on the track? I mean, I know the answer. No, the answer is no. You don't do it. But is there any validation for doing that at all, to where you say, we got 16 cars this week, these 3 weeks, got 12 cars, and then we're going to get it down to these 4 cars we're going to run. Is there any validation at all for doing that? I know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like the NFL and all these other leagues. These teams still got to make money,
sponsorship money. Yeah.
Sponsorship. Yeah. If you were to do that, sponsors would not be too thrilled about that, in my opinion, and they would only drive more sponsors away from the sport. So, I mean, and still, even if they're not, these guys like Jimmy Johnson and Daniel Suarez, they're not in the playoffs. Some of these guys are now driving for something completely different. Some of these guys are driving for a ride for next season. Some of these guys are driving to build momentum for 2020, and so on and so forth. And these smaller, especially the smaller teams, in which I wish they had a bigger chance, but, with testing being gone and everything, it's very rough for them. But, again, those guys, they work as hard as everybody else does. And I just think, even if you're not in the playoffs, everyone has a objective. Every team has an objective. Everyone has their goals. Like, okay, Bubba Wallace's objectives are going to be different from Kyle Busch's. Even though, everyone does have that objective to win. Everyone wants to win, or else why would you be here? But again, they're like, okay, what can we do to get there? What can we do to get there to win and make the playoffs? Just like, I bring up Justin Haley. A lot of people call that a fluke win at Daytona. Well, Spire looked at this like, okay, this is probably one of our best shots to do well. Haley, to me, is an underrated driver. He is very good. He had a breakout year in trucks. He's very good on the super speedways, too. He proved that last year in the Xfinity race at Daytona in July. And put themselves in a good spot, and look what happened. I mean, everyone has different objectives.
Yeah, so Michael, are you still with us, Michael?
Yeah.
Should we go back to testing in the Cup or Xfinity and the Cup and everything? Should we allow testing to go back and let these guys test and drive and see what they can figure out and build things differently?
I mean, I would say so. And, yeah, obviously I may be kind of biased because I am a driver. Obviously, I want to get all the testing I can in.
You can be. Yeah, you'd want to be. Yeah.
But, yeah,
I mean, that's what you do for a craft. That's your craft. That's your living. Yeah. I would think you'd want to be in that car and getting comfortable with that seat and that can't, everything that's going on in that vehicle while you're doing it, I would think you'd want to be in that car as much as you can. Why does NASCAR eliminate testing?
I think it was just as a cost preventive measure that they wanted to take.
Yeah, because they kind of just did away with testing after the recession 10 years ago, because when I started watching, the Cup guys would go to Kentucky Speedway to test during, like, June and stuff like that. And by the way, the big ARCA news just dropped on NASCAR.com and ARCARacing.com as well. We want to cover that here in a bit. But, yeah, I kind of wish testing would come back in some way, shape, or form, because I think it would also help these smaller teams get up there, because back then, even smaller teams occasionally would be able to sneak out like a top 10. Andy Peachy Racing got, that win with Bobby Hamilton in 2001. That's a prime example. Even though that's Talladega, still, these smaller teams, I felt like, had a better shot back then compared to now.
Okay. So, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Should NASCAR build a wind tunnel that allows every team to have equal time to test in the wind tunnel and get their aero packages set and do things like that? Because I know some teams have access to aero packages or the wind tunnels, and some teams don't. I mean, the smaller teams don't have that kind of money to fund to go. So should NASCAR just go to Charlotte and build a wind tunnel and say, this is the NASCAR wind tunnel, and we're going to let you run your car through here and get your aero packages set? But then are we getting into more like IROC racing, where every car was allegedly created equal? Michael?
Oh, sorry. I was watching the video that ARCA has released, so.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. This is actually very interesting.
Yeah, so let me read this thoroughly here.
Right.
So they announced the framework.
We'll go to
that. Do you want to finish up the current conversation, or do you want to dive into?
No, just move on.
Okay, just making sure. My apologies. Okay. So basically, NASCAR and ARCA revealed the new ARCA Menards Series, which will encompass the 3 long-running regional stock car series while providing a new combined championship series. What has been known as the K&N Pro Series East and West will now become the ARCA Menards Series East and West. The current 20-race schedule will remain in place, and a 10-race slate within the latter will serve as a crossover for all 3 series and crown a 4th champion in the ARCA Showdown. Excuse me. Let's see here. So if an East, West, or current ARCA Menards Series car owner has a car that meets the 2019 rule book, there will be a rules package that will allow them to compete also in 2020. So we'll get to see Haley Deegan race in ARCA next year. And, of course, they go on to talk about how a bunch of current drivers came up through there. Very historic names in ARCA like Frank Kimmel, Herschel McGriff, Andy Santier, Tim Steele even. Just reading along the article here. K&N took over East and West and Thailand sponsorship in 2010 and helped further elevate the two regional series. Will remain a key entity in the sport as the official automotive filter of NASCAR, which is good. It also talks about how ARCA was founded, how the East and West Series were founded. So the 2020 ARCA Menards Series will officially begin February 8th at Daytona. It will mark the 57th annual visit for ARCA to Daytona. The 10-race super speedway portion of the schedule will include Talladega, Michigan, Chicagoland, and Pocono, and finish the season at Kansas. The ARCA Menards Series West will begin the season as part of the National Series weekend at Las Vegas, with the return to the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The West slate will also include traditional events at Irwindale, All-American Speedway in Roseville, and Sonoma Raceway, with the championship accumulating at ISM Raceway in November. The ARCA Menards Series East includes events at Five Flags in Pensacola, Florida, as well as Toledo Speedway, Watkins Glen International, and again, part of the Full Throttle Fall Weekend in New Hampshire. It will have its championship decided within its traditional fall visit to Dover International Speedway. The Showdown will take the green flag in ARCA's inaugural visit to ISM Raceway on March 6th as part of the National Series event weekend at Phoenix. The Showdown's 10 races, which will also count as part of the 20-race ARCA Menards schedule. They feature events at Indiana Salem Speedway, Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis, Elko Speedway in Minnesota, Bristol, Iowa, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Both Iowa and Gateway have hosted K&N Pro West combination races as well as ARCA events annually. And this is an opportunity for those tracks to bring all three series together. The first Showdown champion will be crowned at Memphis Motorsports Park in September. So it's nice to see. I know they start hosting K&N races. Now it looks like that track's starting to become a bigger factor in NASCAR again. In addition, NASCAR and MAV TV announced a 3-year extension of its telecast rights agreement for select ARCA Menards races. The partnership, combined with the races covered in Fox Sports, means that all 20 ARCA Menards Series races, including the 10-race Showdown portion, will be available via live or same-day broadcast. NBCSN will continue to carry the ARCA Menards Series East and West as part of their exclusive NASCAR coverage. I know a lot of that was a mouthful. If you want to add on anything, Michael?
No, I'm just really excited for it. So basically what it sounds like is ARCA Menards Series isn't going anywhere. That's going to be the same. And ARCA is taking over the K&N Pro Series, which, that's become the ARCA Menards Series East and West. So I'm actually really excited for this here now. And hopefully they haven't announced every race, because I noticed in the video here when they were going over stage, I saw Kentucky there. So I'm hoping that means Kentucky Speedway is back on the schedule. I mean, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but a guy can hope.
That would make me happy. That means I would have to get credentials for that now.
I'll probably have them anyway.
Yeah. But, it looks like basically ARCA and K&N are basically, as we speculated, they're merging together. There's going to be, I guess, the ARCA East, ARCA West. There'll be champions in both those series. There'll be the Showdown champion. And then you just got the ARCA Menards Series in general. I think that's what I hope that's if I got that right.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like the ARCA Menards Series is going to be focused more on the super speedways, and short tracks, it sounds like, are going to primarily be with the East and West.
Yeah.
And I saw they had 20 races planned for the super speedway portion, so, yeah, that's not a stretch to think Kentucky Speedway won't be on there.
Yeah. So, really exciting future, I think, for the ARCA Racing Series, and the ARCA Menards Series. Bright future ahead, because obviously I know there has been issues in the past with ARCA and K&N about the field size. And now I think hopefully this will create a bigger field size. So, the 4 championships will be the ARCA Menards Series East and West, competing as, the K&N East and West. As you said, annual schedule of 6 to 8 races and the crowning of separate champions. There is the ARCA Menards Series, which is a 20-race racing series, a mix of National Series combination events at venues like Daytona and Charlotte, as well as the short tracks like Madison and DuPont. And then you got the ARCA Racing Series Showdown, 10 races within the larger ARCA Menards Series Championship will feature the best of those 3 series coming together to crown a showdown champion. So a lot is going to be at stake here. There's a lot of chances here for some guys to come in and win some races and championships. So I think ARCA is going to be extremely fun to watch in 2020.
I'm just hoping it doesn't affect my approval to run in those series, because right now I am approved for ARCA competition. I'm just hoping this doesn't affect that. It shouldn't. I mean, I'm going to try to run the Vegas race on dirt. I definitely know that. We're working on that now. So hopefully that can stay in the plans with this. I'm assuming what this would mean is I'm able to run in the East and West Series now since it's run by ARCA. And I'm approved to run the tracks a mile and under. So now that's just what I'm hoping. I'll have to contact Ron Drager on that.
Steve?
Which I'm actually going to be at Indy this weekend, so I could just do it there, I guess.
Oh, IRP?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, going to be up there with my midget teammate, Ryan Shilkowski. It's going to be hanging out. Got some people I need to talk to. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Steve, what are your thoughts?
A couple questions. First off, Michael, what's entailed in getting qualified to run ARCA Series or move yourself up through the ranks, get to run Cup races? What are your requirements that you have to meet or beat or standardize to move up the food chain?
Okay, so first thing you need to do is get in contact with the competition director, which for ARCA, it's Ron Wells or Bob Wells. I forget his first name. But so they'll get you started, and usually what they do is they send you a resume that you fill out, and you put down your recent races and your results and all that. You send it in, and they have a committee that will look over that and determine whether or not you're approved to run, which tracks you can run. In my case, they approved me to race, but I can only run on tracks a mile and under right now. Now, as soon as I get a couple starts in, hopefully that would mean I can move up to the bigger tracks.
So you couldn't run at Daytona?
No, I couldn't run Daytona as of now.
Or Talladega?
That kind of sucks because I kind of wanted to do that.
Yeah, I've heard those are the easiest tracks to run on. You just kind of the banks turn you, and you just kind of go. The car just does its own thing. Is that not true?
Well, yeah, it is, but at the same time, you're going much faster than anywhere else.
You got to be a driver. I understand that concept, but I mean, I have often heard in my, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but Daytona and Talladega have always been the tracks that said are the most dangerous, but the easiest to run. You just flat out put your foot on the floor, you let it run wide open. So is that true or not true about running those kinds of tracks?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, if you're in the race, you have a shot to win at Daytona and Talladega. But, yes, it's also dangerous, especially how bunched up the cars are. One little slip up, half the field could get taken out.
Yeah, and, just to point this out there, anybody can win, which means anybody's going to try to win, which, of course, means your less experienced guys are likely going to be taking more risky moves and possibly end up taking out half the field. And even with the experienced guys, I think we saw that with Kevin LePage at Talladega several years ago, where he just blended right in front of everybody. And we saw that at Daytona this year but Scott Melton just turning Eric Cadell into a wall, which I would know that because I was on his team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just throwing this out there, he only had one prior start on a short track, and he didn't even make minimum speed. So, that tells you that he shouldn't have been out there. So that's definitely why ARCA needs to have those rules in place.
It just seems to me you're doing everything, again, you're doing it 220 miles an hour, 215 miles an hour, whatever the speed you guys run on those tracks. And I know the ARCA
around
cars can run as fast as, so your horsepower is a little down. But still, you're running at an incredible rate of speed, 2 to 3 inches away from everybody. So, and the aero packages are so iffy that, a Buffett, and I'm talking about Jimmy, who has just retired, I guess, from what I heard, can throw you into another car and take out half the field. You're right. So I think those are difficult tracks to run by a long shot. Yeah. All right. That made no sense.
No, you're good.
Let's go on to the final 12 now. Who's going to move forward here? Who's in jeopardy?
Well, I think Chase Elliott is in a good shot to move forward, not just based on points, but also he's won on all three of the next tracks coming up, as we talked about earlier. I think he's safe. Kyle Busch is probably safe. Guys like him, Harvick.
Well, you say Kyle Busch. Hang on. You say Kyle Busch, but, he hadn't won since, June? Didn't we talk about this last week?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he hadn't won since June. What has he done for me lately? Other than his wife being on NASCAR Wives or whatever that show is that my wife DVRs on CMT because she wants to look at their houses. They all have nice houses. They all live on Lake Norman, and they have big houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what has Kyle Busch done lately? Really, truly? Is he in a little bit of jeopardy right now? Or you think he's just going to point to crew that he's fine?
First round, he was pretty safe. Obviously, the points have now reset. He's got a 46-point cushion from the cutoff, line. He is currently ranked first, but again, one bad race can change that instantly. He had a pretty bad race at the Roval, didn't win at all in the first round. His teammate, Martin Truex Jr., looks like the guy that's on fire right now, actually. So I like Truex and Hamlin advancing for sure. Probably Elliott and Harvick. Larson's he's 8th going in, 6 points from the cut line. So, Larson, Bowman, Blaney, Byron, and Boyer, that's probably, unless, one of these other guys have one or two bad races, the guys in terms of who are in jeopardy, people will probably look at, Larson, Bowman, Blaney, Byron, and Boyer. 4 of those drivers all had last names starting with B. Anyway, those are probably where they're going to look first. But again, it's the playoffs, and at this point, anything can happen.
Yeah, and Michael, I don't know what you think. It's so much of a crapshoot right now because you get caught in a wreck. And you look at what happened to Eric Jones, and he got caught in a couple wrecks that maybe not even were his fault, or he had mechanical failure, and he's out. And there's a guy who is qualified to be in the top 12. He's got the same equipment as everybody else on his team, but crap happens. And I think that's the scary part about this whole thing. What's your thoughts about that?
I mean, it certainly is going to be a crapshoot, especially with Talladega in there.
Yeah.
Just one of the things that you never know. Certainly Kyle Busch, I would kind of start to be concerned right now just because, his performance has been off lately. Let's just put it that way. I wouldn't necessarily say I could expect him being eliminated, but I would say keep an eye out on him at least.
Oh, yeah.
No, I agree entirely. I think Kyle Busch is vulnerable right now. I mean, the most vulnerable I've seen him in the last 2 or 3 years, where I didn't feel like he could pull it through. And I still believe he will, because I think he's a great driver. He's probably the best driver in NASCAR right now. You got to look at Harvick. You got to look at Truex. You got to look at Hamlin. The Hendrick cars, I'm still not sold on the Hendrick cars on consistency. I think Chase is a good driver. But I'm not sold 100% on those cars. So, and then you got the Stewart-Haas cars that are running. So it's a mishmash. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that, Kyle Busch is on the colder side of things. It's going to be interesting to see if he can bounce back. Obviously, Dover's a pretty strong track of his. Really, almost any track it feels like. But it's going to be interesting to watch because I think Chase Elliott could be on the uprising here as well. Harvick's going to be one to look after. Maybe Byron can surprise some people. We'll see what happens.
There you go. Let's make predictions for the week. What's everybody got?
All righty. Who wants to go first?
We're going to Dover.
I would say Chase Elliott, just because this always seems to be one of his strongest tracks, and it's kind of hard to go against him right now. But it's also kind of want to go with Truex, just kind of as a backup, because he's also great here.
Oh yeah, and it's his home track too.
Yeah, 1 of 10 for him.
Sticky notepads out here.
So you got Elliott and Truex. For my picks,
I'll go with me. I have Harvick. I he's ornery, and Dover's an ornery track. I mean, it's the Monster Mile. It's an ornery track, and I think he's eager to win. And I don't know what's going on with Kyle Busch. I haven't figured that out yet with him. But I got Elliott as a dark horse. And I had him as a dark horse last week, and I won with him as a dark horse. So I'm going to throw that one away. Boom, there that goes. So I've got Harvick just because I think it's his style of racing. And then Elliott, I think, is just he runs a clean race. He keeps out of everybody's hair. He doesn't get in anybody's way. He keeps himself clean for the most part, unless he gets caught up in something. Although he did run head on into the wall at turn 1 on the Roval.
That's true.
I mean, he hit it head on. And he still damn won the race, so that's great. So I got that. So I'm going Harvick and Elliott.
All righty. Goodness. Yeah, I'm going Chase Elliott too. It's one of my favorites, funny enough. Again, he's on fire.
No, you'll jinx me. Don't do that. You'll jinx me.
Gosh,
I've already picked Chase, so you're already well jinxed.
I've got a brand new Chase Elliott sweatshirt, hooded sweatshirt. I got to put on and wear. It's finally we got down in the 70s in California this week, so we can actually wear kind of a hoodie. And I've got a brand new Chase Elliott hoodie.
Oh my God, you guys are hoodies
finally going to be able to
70-degree
wear.
weather.
we have 70-degree weather here. It's cold.
You don't wear hoodies unless it gets below, 60. Yeah, you Californians, I swear.
I know. I hate it out here. I miss the snow. I miss the fall. Our trees don't ever turn maple colored. They're always green. Yeah. It's like it sucks out here. Trust me. You don't want to live out here. Unless you're a natural born Californian. Then you just deal with it. So anyway. But anyway, go ahead, Alex. Who are you picking?
Yeah, we're all in this together then. So Chase Elliott. And then another pick I have, I'm going to go with Harvick too on this one. Plus, I think it would be really comical to see him drive Harvick car. Y'all haven't heard. Busch Beer came out. Kevin Harvick came out with this paint scheme they're going to drive. It's the usual Busch car, but instead of it saying Busch, it says Harvick. It legitimately looks like a car you would see in a NASCAR video game because generally, especially like the NASCAR Thunder games, because they would censor out the alcohol sponsors. So you had the Sterling Marlin Dodge, the Dale Jr. Chevrolet, the Team Rusty Dodge, stuff like that. So I think that's kind of comical because it's just like, we're tired of competing against the other people who are Busch, Kurt and Kyle. So I think it's very funny. Busch Beer has been on it this year with paint schemes, I tell you. So I'm gonna go with Elliott and Harvick in this one.
All right. So you and I are together. We're on board.
Mm-hmm.
Let's agree to reconvene next Wednesday. Michael, can you be back on?
Yeah, I'll try.
Well, we'll work around your schedule. We know you're a busy race driver, so we're just college stiffs, working employment people, or retired, and we're working around your schedule. So we'd love to have you back on again next week if we can.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to.
There you go. Alex, get us out of here. We've been on for 72 minutes, which is far too long.
Well, we had a lot to talk about, though.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's a great weekend. The Rovals are fun. I hope they do more of this, and I hope that that NASCAR looks at doing doubleheaders on a Saturday and Sunday, doing a Roval, like certain tracks. The Indy would be a great place. Charlotte's a great place. I'm sure there are a couple other tracks that offer the same opportunity that I'm not familiar with at this point in time. But the Roval, it was a very fun race to watch because you just didn't know what was going to happen on every lap, and that's what's great about it. And I'm sure, Michael, that's what makes you love to race and drive cars because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and, for me, it's just adrenaline of doing it that really keeps me going. I mean, it's just such a thrill that once you started doing it, you can't get away from it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I've done enough go-kart racing at like Stephanie Johansson's go-kart tracks indoors, and there's others which are a little more powered go-kart tracks than just going to a state fair and doing it. And people don't realize after about 20 minutes, your arms get tired real quick, and your hands get real calloused and blistered real quick. And I get sickened when I hear people that think that race car drivers aren't athletes, because I don't think they understand. And we were looking at the thermometer in one of the cars. I don't know if it was Harvick's or Elliott's or whatever. It was 129 degrees in the cockpit. And now he's got a full helmet on and a driving suit on, so it's probably about 170 degrees to him. And he's got his feet planted on lead stirrups on the floorboard with a 750 horsepower engine in front of him, or a 550, whichever package they're going with that week. They don't understand the difficulty it is to do what these guys do. And, yeah, they've got power steering, but there are so many G-forces put forth on these cars that it's a tremendous amount of athletic scholarship that it takes for these guys to drive these cars. And I applaud you for being able to do it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I know. I'm sure driving a midget is harder than even driving a NASCAR, because you don't have fenders to protect you. You know, you're out there just bumping and grinding with other guys on the dirt. Is how I feel that the midgets that I grew up with at the Hoosier 100 and State Fairgrounds in Indiana, things like that, and IRP, which is now Lucas Oil Raceway. But it's not easy to do, and good for you for being able to do that. Thanks. Yeah, I know how it feels to when people say racing isn't a sport. Every time they do that, I get so angry. Yeah. And actually, interesting story. I actually had a whole class. The teacher rallied a whole class against it with me in the room because he knew I liked it. They pretty much all said it ain't a sport. You're just sitting there driving. And, I asked them, okay, how many of you are actually fans? How many of you actually follow it? And they said, none of them. It's boring as hell. I said, okay, if you don't know it and you don't understand it, how can you say that? Like, because we can just tell.
Somebody one time
come on.
Yeah, someone tried to explain to me, like, what's the point of NASCAR? I'm like, why don't you watch a race? Why don't you at least give it a chance, watch it in the poll, or even better yet, go to a race?
Yeah, and actually just also to throw this out there, some of those students who were doing that came to Full Throttle Indoor Karting back when I worked there, and, they did a full race for their friend's bachelor party, and they all came out and said, hey, we're sorry about that, man. This takes a lot more out of you than it looks.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this, I had the privilege one time of doing the Richard Petty driving experience out at the Indianapolis Speedway. Mm-hmm. And got into a NASCAR barely because I was 6'8". And, I don't really fit into those cars at my height, but I got to do it, and, I got up to about 140 miles an hour, and it's way below what they run, but it's all I could imagine to do. And I was scared out of my brains. I mean, I'm like, holy cow. And they have the ground effects on these cars so tight that you're not going to wreck them. I mean, unless you're just a total idiot. You're not going to wreck the car. But to do that is just, until you go get in one of those cars and do that, is just one of the most amazing experiences you can ever imagine in your life. And for Michael, for you, to do it at the level you do when you got 39 other idiots out there with you, and you're all idiots, and we're all idiots because we love the sport. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just saying I love idiots. I would love to be an idiot, but unfortunately I'm 60 years old, and nobody's going to let me be an idiot.
If racing makes me an idiot, then, I'm an idiot.
You're an idiot. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly,
it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you got to be at least a little crazy to do what these guys like Mike.
A little crazy?
At least a little crazy.
Okay, Alex, you have to be little.
Yeah, I definitely qualify for that.
Yeah, you have to be little to begin with, because 6'8" doesn't cut it. I mean, there was Chris Kneifel, who was 6'8" and drove an Indy car for a while. He played, I think, basketball for the Bulls for a year or something like that. I don't know what that whole story was, but I remember him being 6'8", and I'm thinking, so I could maybe get in an Indy car. And there's no way. You can't fit in those cars. And
that's around what Justin Wilson was.
How tall was Justin Wilson?
I think he was 6'7". I think he was the same height as Michael Waltrip.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Then
from what I understand, they actually had to.
They'll build a cockpit. They'll build a cockpit for you.
They actually had to do that back when he was in Formula One, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they had to do that for IndyCar, too.
Yeah. But I think it's a gallant sport. I think it's incredible what these guys do week in and week out. And you look at Clint Boyer, a guy who you just love, and you love to hear him talk, and you're going to want him in the booth as fast as you can get him there, talking about racing, because that's probably where his expertise is going to be. But it's just so much fun. But to get in a car, and so I hit 140, and I was paced by a car in front of me. There was a car in front of me controlling my throttle that said I can only get this much out of it. That's how they do it at the Rich Pretty driving experience. And it's harrowing. It's absolutely harrowing. And I was on the track by myself. I can't imagine doing that, like I said, with 39 other idiots like me who love to do that alongside of you, saying, I'm going to beat you. And we're going to do it at 180 miles an hour, not 160 or 40 miles an hour. And to go 140 miles an hour, though, there's not many people in the world who have done that. There just are not. So it's a great sport. Alex, get us out of here.
All righty. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to this weekly episode of the NASCAR Show here on The Grueling Truth from Michael Klein, Steve Risley, and myself, Alex Gray. We'll see you next time.